Hello, everybody. Welcome to another day of Charm Chats and Happily Ever After Sprints, where we'll get a chance to talk to authors all month, talking about fantasy romance, writing, and books, play some games, and spend some time writing. I'm Shannon. I write under the pen name of SD Huston, and you're here on my YouTube channel where I publish weekly content, weekly writing sprints, and some content about my writing and my self-publishing journey. I'm also part of the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks podcast with Ben Pick from Running to Write and Morgan Lee. And I'm also the founder and conference chair of the AuthorTube Writing Conference, now heading into its third year. Besides what I do here on YouTube, I am a fantasy romance and YA fantasy author with a passion for writing about broken characters who face adversity to become better versions of themselves. And there may or may not be dragons, but there's always love to find. So today I am joined by Britta Brown, who writes under the pen name of BL Brown. And we're going to spend some time learning about one of her books and talk about fantasy romance, play a game, and do the writing sprint. So let me introduce her with her bio. Britta is a human wrangling, word-wielding, musical theater and beer-loving runner with a passion for fairy tales and folklore. She can be found under a pile of digital literature or begging her friends in academia for their JSTOR logins. I would want those too. I like to do research. As a BL Brown, she publishes urban fantasy and paranormal romance. Her debut novella, Shady Depths, was released in April of 2023, and her short fiction can be found in Tales, Trysts, and Tentacles, One Monstrous Summer, Fireside, Modern Legends and Lore, and The Future of Us, and a Moms Who Write anthology. Otherwise, she's in no particular order, lost in the woods, scanning the shelves at the bottle shop, flicking through a classic cookbook, or chasing a kiddo around the neighbor's yard. And so welcome to my channel, Britta. Is there anything else that you would like to add? Or I see that you didn't talk about ritual income, I think, in that.
Not yet. I do need to update the blurb as you were reading it out loud. Yeah. Like, this sounds a lot different from somebody else's voice. So I would add ritual income. Came out October of 2023. And I am Britta, as she said. All those things are true about me. So
I love the end where you say, in no particular order, lost in the woods, getting shelves, flicking through a classic cookbook, chasing kiddo around the yard.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes all at the same time.
Yeah, right? And I do think someone had said, the person we had on yesterday, Essie Grayson, she had mentioned something about recipes, I think is what she talked about doing in some of her, I can't remember quite what she said, but I think it's like magnets or whatever. So do you like to go through cookbooks? Do you do recipes like that as well, or put anything together from your books?
I do, actually. I've had this idea floating around in my head because I'm a foodie, like lived in San Francisco when the whole food craze began in that area. And so I do like to make people hungry when they read my books, but then I have to go and cook the dish that I'm writing about. So we've learned a lot. The main character in Ritual Income is Cheshian in her heritage. And so we've learned a lot about Cheshian soups and stews and how they make goulash differently than Hungarians do. So it's been pretty interesting.
Okay. I do want to say for everybody who is in the chat, it is not showing up on the back end in StreamYard. I've not seen this happen before.
Oh, no.
So I will have to just go through, and since they're not showing up in the back end of StreamYard, I can't click on anybody's comment to put it up here. I don't know why. We are February 6th. We're on the right day. We're on the right stream, but it's just not showing any comments. So I will just go through and say hello to everyone who's come. And I did pin a comment in the chat on YouTube. You can see Britta's website. It's there at the top. Mama Maggie was the first one in. She said, good morning, lovelies. Hello. Leslie from Books, Gers, and Purrs. Good morning, early birds. And then Nikki came in and said hello to everyone. Richard, hello. I am here. Is that a loft? Oh, I think he's asking you that.
Oh, it's a bonus room. So kind of a loft.
Cool. RC Scott, hello. And Richard says, Dante's here. I think that's in response to RC Scott. Things just got hot in here. I know the chat isn't working. Yeah, it's not working. I don't know why. It shows absolutely nothing on the back end. It says, here's where the comments will show up. And there's nothing there. And then Elizabeth Landis, hello. I'm preparing myself for the 2-hour job interview I have tomorrow at 8 a.m. Ooh. At least you're doing the preparation. So I am adding, sorry, Elizabeth, I'm adding you as a moderator here in case if you want to drop any links, because you've been here a few times. So good luck on your job interview. And then Joanne J.K. Lambo, hello, asking everyone what they're working on today. And everyone's saying hello to each other, and bonus rooms from Richard. So if you guys have any questions for the author at any point, you can drop them in the chat with a Q, and we'll make sure we get to them. And especially since the chat is not working on the back end in StreamYard, please make sure you put a Q, because especially if there's a lot of chat on the YouTube side, it's going to take me a minute to get through which ones are questions and which ones are not. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our questions for the L. Brown. Britta, what drew you to write in the fantasy romance genre?
I really like that question. I had to think when that came across. I was like, what exactly was it about fantasy romance? And it's always been there as something I've been interested in. One of my favorite books series as a kid was the Enchanted Forest Chronicles by Patricia C. Reed. And like I'm low-key obsessed with Morwen and Telemaine. I just loved how those two characters danced around each other the whole time. And so growing up as a reader, getting more into romance, I was like, man, why don't we have that? And then I kind of stepped away from reading for fun when I was in college. I did ComLit and English, so it was all assigned reading. And
Yeah.
so when I stepped back into it, I was living abroad, so I was reading my boss's bookshelf, and it was a lot of spy thrillers, which were fun. And when I moved back to the States, Sarah J. Maas had just put out A Court of Thorn and Roses. And so I remember reading it on a friend's recommendation and going, we can do this now in fantasy. Like this is what we're doing now. And it was like a game changer, I think, for a lot of people who were writing. And I'd been trying to write standard romance. I'd been trying to write like suspense thrillers, like an au pair caught up in things in Germany. And none of it was sticking. And when I read that book, it was like, I get to go back and write Morwen and Telemaine and adultify it into that romance space. And it was just kind of nice. And then like a lot of kids from the 80s and 90s, The Last Unicorn was on repeat in my house. Like,
yeah, I love The Last Unicorn. I want to do a book that's something similar to it, but
yes, it was so sweeping and lovely, and it like reading about people falling in love is beautiful, and just forming those connections and that strength. And then, I mean, I'm an 80s and 90s girly. I love the adventure. I love the high stakes. I love a woman with magic who is the strongest person in the room. Like, I just think it's great. So fantasy romance kind of gets all those things and puts them together into a lovely package.
Yeah, I do remember that I had a same moment where I was like, oh, you put this, because my TBR was always like fantasy and romance, but it was like contemporary romance stuff. So when I saw that they were starting to merge, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, right. I remember reading all the Anne Rice books when I was in high school, which, like, I think my mom is watching. You should not have let me read those in high school. I was way too young. But I remember reading those and going, now can we have this plus castles?
Yeah, right.
Like, you know, still love New Orleans, favorite place on the planet, but can we put it in a castle?
All right, well, let's talk about your most recent book release, which is Ritual Income. And I'm not sure how you say the name in the series, which is it Demence?
Domain.
Oh, okay. So you don't even, the S is silent then. Okay.
Yeah, and that's been an ongoing conversation in my household, domain versus domain. I was like, well, domain is a broader territory, and a domain is, and it's a finicky linguistical. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it yours. So
exactly. And so Ritual Income is the first book of the Witch of the Domain series. And in this sense, a domain is a territory that is run and protected by a witch. And so she keeps all the mortals safe from monsters and magic users. So that's kind of the overarching definition of that. Ritual Income specifically is about a witch who is grieving the loss of her mentor from a ritual that has gone bad. And so when we meet Mia, the main character, she's in a super closed off state. She just kind of wants to lead her life, keep her head down, run her antique store. But in running an antique store in the heart of St. Augustine, which is a big tourist destination, she comes across a Karen, and it does not go well. And the Karen gets all of the members of her MLM to review bomb the store. And that's kind of like,
I haven't got that far yet. I started reading it, but
yeah, that's like the main thing. So there, you know, of course, it's urban fantasy romance. Everything goes crazy from that point. So all the things diverge. At the same time, because she is a formerly wicked witch, we have the governing body Crow that is getting really curious about this witch. Like, what has she been doing? It's been too quiet. And so they decide, in all of their great knowledge, to promote her, give her an apprentice. And in doing that, it allows them to send a witch to kind of keep tabs on her
Mm,
and see, like, how are you taking care of the domain? What are you doing with these monsters? Are you actually doing your job? And so
right.
that's the main basis of it. And yeah, the idea, it's really funny. In its first iteration, it was much more tongue in cheek, kind of poking fun at a lot of urban fantasy and fantasy romance tropes like shadow daddies. I love the Darkling, and Ben Barnes as the Darkling was just probably the best casting I've seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more tongue in cheek in there, and as I got into it, I started realizing that this grieving witch, like, as I learned Mia in writing the drafts and developed her as a character, I was like, no, there's a lot of really topical stuff in here. And so the book is urban fantasy romance, but it kind of is poking at stuff that are hot conversations in the world that we live in right now. So it gets to it's not comedy, but it has comedy. I don't know. My elevator pitch for anyone who's already tuned out, it's hipster witch versus MLM Huns.
There you go. I did think it was funny because I've read through to the beginning, through the part of where the Karen has come in and wanted the bathing suit in a different size. And so I thought that was like, okay, this is like hitting home real world. This probably happens. But then she fixes it because, of course, the Karen broke or stretched it or something, right? She had to fix it with her magic. And I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and there's definitely, you can, my 90s childhood comes out in full force in this book. The magic system is based on the X-Men,
Oh,
and specifically the X-Men 90s cartoon. And so for my beta readers who have read ahead, they're like, "Oh, that's Rogue. Oh, there's Gambit. Oh, there's this witch." And I'm like, "Yep, they're all there."
now we know what to look for.
Exactly. Fun little Easter eggs.
So you did mention Crow already, which is the organization that kind of overlooks witches. What does that stand for, and how big of a role does it have in the story?
Oh, so that stands for the Coven for the Regulation and Oversight of Witches.
Mm.
So I had to shorten it for my own sanity. They are Crow. Crow sets all the laws and the rules that witches have to abide by. Their main job is to ensure that practitioners of magic don't overstep or affect the mundane world in a way that they shouldn't. So it's like I mentioned earlier, the book kind of started off poking fun at a lot of tropes and things, and I think that's a really common one. Like in the Harry Potter series, they don't want magic to be well known, and it's kind of a fun, like, keep the veil closed,
Yeah.
don't let people in. But as we experience in the world, a lot of rules end up being black and white without allowance for good actors or like reasons for things. And that's why we have a judicial system to, like, oh, you broke the law, but Jean Valjean stole that loaf of bread, but he was also trying to feed a family in a society that was not paying him to feed a family. So it's like, well, let's look at the gray area here. And so Crow is the big bad. Like, Mia is a formerly wicked witch. She wants to avoid the notice of Crow. And so everything she does is to avoid that. They hunt down what is called in world as the forbidden and foul. And that covers wicked witches, monsters, vampires, werewolves, all of the things that we batch in as your typical, like, bad guys in an urban fantasy book, or the people who are kind of put down by the law and try and live beneath it.
So if she was a formerly wicked witch, and I don't know if this was in the pages I read or not, but or if it comes later, did they punish her in some way before she was allowed to not be the wicked witch anymore?
As you will learn, in the events of this ritual that went wrong, there's a lot of conspiracy occurring. And so the witches that could be punished publicly were in world. Other witches were not. And they are still free hands in the world of the Witch of the Domain. They're still out there and doing things and kind of puppeteering different events. Mia, for her instance, was able to, she went into hiding and then was found. And we kind of learned this through the book. Not major spoilers because it all happens before the book. And she has paid her dues.
Okay.
I'll leave it there. She's
I mean,
definitely.
You felt her struggle because the book opens up with her basically having like a flashback or memory of her losing her mentor and what
Mhm.
that was like. So you feel that anguish, but then sometimes that anguish doesn't mean it's a punishment made by an organization. So.
Right. Yeah.
So, ritual income takes place in the weeks leading up to and on Valentine's Day, and that tells me your book is set in a world similar to ours. Which, having started to read it, I do know that it's in our world. And I'd love to know more about the decisions you made for that setting and why you chose Valentine's Day.
Happily. That was Valentine's Day is the easier answer. Mia's a grump. She's just a big grump. She's not a happy person at the start of the book. She's kind of this, I call it hipster witch, but she's kind of like a gothy Zoe Deschanel
Mm.
is how when I talk to artists, that's what I tell them. Like take Zoe from New Girl and make her like emo goth, and that's Mia like to a T. So she's
Okay.
not someone who feeds into Valentine's Day. By her own admission, she's already lived the love story. She's had the meet cute. She's had all the romance that happens around it, and then is now in this other space afterwards. In her mind, the credits have rolled. Her story's done. So she doesn't feed into Valentine's Day and the lovey-dovey cheerfulness. She's kind of like oblivious to it through the book. And so I balanced that with a love interest who is very aware of Valentine's Day and is like, it's the grumpy sunshine mix, but she's our
She's
grumpy.
the
And so
grumpy.
I thought it was a funny extra layer of a little bit of satire, but also like real life to put this a little bit of a dark Southern Gothic story in tropical Florida during Valentine's Day. Like, how do I raise the stakes on the setting to really make this character feel uncomfortable in her own world?
Well, that's what we like to do. We want to make our characters uncomfortable.
Right, exactly. And it's
So,
very easy to make her uncomfortable. You put something cute on the page going, no. And then
um,
yeah, setting it in our world, again, grew up reading a lot of urban fantasy. Really like I love the Veil. I mean, the Dresden Files is a big one in there. My husband and I tandem read those over the last decade.
hmm,
And so I've always liked urban fantasy as a conceit. I think it's a really fun way. Like I said, I read Anne Rice all through high school. The main reason to set these books in our world is I got 4 books into a standard fantasy romance set in what's inspired by Middle Ages Germany, and I got exhausted. I was like, "Oh, how hard will it be to make up a world?" It's very hard. And this was a while ago now, so those books they're still waiting to go back to, but I just was like, I want cars and I want cell phones and I want sports bras. Like
love that.
if I have to unlace one more dirndl, I'm gonna like. And so I was like, well, let's set this. And the idea had been kind of percolating for a while. And when I just got exhausted and was like, I need a break from fantasy Germany, I picked up my notebook of ideas like, where can I go next? I was like, it was the middle of winter. COVID had just started. So everyone was trapped at home. I was like, I would like to go to tropical area. I want to go somewhere warm and imagine that like, even if it's February, it's still like 65, 70 degrees in Florida. So we can be in t-shirts
Yeah.
instead of like woolen cloaks and eating stews. I want a salad.
Love that. I do want to stop in the chat real quick. I don't have access to comments on the back end, but Richard said, very nice website.
Oh, thank you. I was just fighting with WordPress 2 days ago on that. So thank you.
And he was thinking Demesne for the name, but shows what an uncultured swan I am. No, Richard. I mean, it is what it is because I don't think it's a word that you would normally think to make anything silent in, at least not for the English language, right?
Yeah.
Were you influenced by a certain language to come up with that word?
So I studied French for 6 years, and I believe the word comes into English from French root.
Okay.
And so that that language is always floating in the back of my head and all the connections of Romance languages. I love etymology. I think it's fascinating and where words come from. And as you read the book, you'll note that I do a lot with language. I also speak German ein bisschen. And so a lot of like in my head at all times, it's like peak ADHD brain where there's just a lot of noise and some of it's in foreign languages. So it gets interesting. But Yeah, so it came from there because I was looking for a way. We had several different ideas that I workshopped with critique partners with my husband for what do we call the series? And we landed, I was like, well, this is The Witch of the Domain is about Mia and she is the witch of the domain. Why don't we make that the overarching? And then we have our titles that, feed more into what the book's about.
Okay. Also, I want to say hello to Adega. For those just coming in, I don't have access to comments in StreamYard for some reason. They're not showing up, but hello to Adega. Hello to Christina. Thank you for stopping in. She says, good morning. Hope everyone is well. Getting some coffee and booping the like button. I just finished my second cup, but I really want another cup of coffee now. And then thank you, Richard, for putting the PSA up that the comments are not working, so I can't bring them up. And then Kiko, hello. She says, I'm late. You're just on time. So yeah, we're still getting through questions. So the next book in this series releases soon, and it seems like each book will focus on a different romance pairings. Does that make each of the books standalone? Like, how interconnected are they?
They are all interconnected. I'm running 2 series concurrently. And so The Witch of the Domain books will always feature Mia, and she's the backbone of the world. And then concurrent to that, I have The Witches of Crow. So the next book coming out on March 11th, Stitching Palms, is a Witches of Crow book, and it gives us a different POV. And it follows her best friend, Diego, who works with her in the antique store and lets him stand up as a hero. And so I just really like all my characters. I think as authors, we just get really absurdly attached to some of them. And I wanted to give, I don't know, I love when I get into a series. Janine Frost Night Huntress series does this, where she has, that's a really fun vampire slaying. And it's based on the relationship between Buffy and Spike. Is all okay. So it's very fun, wild urban fantasy, but it's a good time. She got a couple books into her series and started doing character spinoffs, and I really enjoyed how she delved into these characters, and that kind of got it. I was thinking about it, and I've been told that this is high fantasy world building in an urban fantasy setting. So there is a bit of a ramp up in world build knowledge. So I thought doing standalones would be a fun way to introduce and develop ideas that come into play later in the series.
Yeah.
And so I've written 7 books ahead, and I'm now going through releasing them and then writing The Witches of Crow as I do that. One as a sanity break to just be like, Mia's a little grumpy. I want to write someone who's happier and not be so gloomy all the time.
Yeah.
And then just to kind of help develop those ideas. So when I get back, like as I move forward in the books that are written, they're still in a revision state. I'm making sure that I'm defining and fleshing out and giving full structure to these ideas that are introduced later, that they have the backbone instead of doing a 4-page info dump. Have an adventure, have a sexy adventure with Diego in Key West. Here's a new idea. So,
I love that.
So all of the Witches of Crow will be standalones following side characters.
Okay. Awesome. Hello to Nia and Vanessa coming in. I don't have access to my comments. You probably read it already in the comment then from Richard, but thank you for stopping by. All right. Next question is, who is your favorite fantasy romance author?
Grace Draven.
Oh, never heard of that one.
Oh my gosh. So good. So Sarah J. Maas was wait, we can do this now. And then as I started reading Grace Draven, I went, oh no, this is what we're doing. She had the first one I read of hers was Master of Crows. And it's you'll chuckle because we've talked about this already. It's a mentor and apprentice situation. But hers is very, I'd call it medium burn. It's not quite slow burn, but it has the high fantasy stakes. She just uses beautiful language. All of her worlds are second world and wildly creative and just wonderful. Master of Crows is great. She has one that's a woman married to essentially a drow from D&D, a dark elf. And so she gets a little bit into monster romance realm. If any of the people that are watching like monster romance or D&D and fantasy romance, Eidolon, I believe it's called, Eidolon. They get spicy, but she captures everything I love about the genre and just character and personal internal struggles mirrored by the external plot, wild stakes, super creative. Cannot recommend enough.
I just pulled up the name on Amazon, so I see Master of Crows there. Definitely will have to look into that. That looks like
she is one of the better Beauty and the Beast retellings I've ever read in Treat Me. And she handles it by aging up characters.
Mm-hmm.
So our Belle character is super competent. She has seen everything and is not impressed. And so it really plays with, I think, kind of the fair criticisms a lot of people have for Beauty and the Beast, which is Stockholm syndrome. Mm-hmm. Whereas this character the whole time is like, no, you're not nice. I don't like you. We're not going to fall for this. And so she really makes her Beast character do a lot of work to get it to a healthy relationship point. So as someone in my 40s who's also seen a lot of things, I really appreciated that in the Beauty and the Beast retelling.
Yeah. Actually, my first book into fantasy romance was a Beauty and the Beast retelling.
They're fun. They're there for a reason.
Yeah. All right. So last question from me. If you guys in the chat have any questions, please drop them in with a Q and I'll check here in a moment. What is your favorite fantasy or romance trope and why?
Ooh. So I really love enemies to lovers. It's very popular. But I love when that is thrown in with the one bed trope, but make it one camp roll.
One camp roll.
One camp roll. So there's no mattress, no blankets. It's like the roll for when you're on the road, sleeping in the woods, and you got to keep warm and you got to cuddle up. And I just love the moment of an enemies to lovers where they have to keep warm together. I'm a sucker for it. Every time Page Turner, I'm like, yes, do it.
Yeah, I like enemies to lovers too. And it's actually the basis for my series that I have going right now. So the first 3 books are all happen at the same time. It's 3 brothers. And my third book, which I've started writing it, but I'm on the second book right now to get ready to get that out this year. The third book, I've written parts of it, but yeah, all enemies to lovers and they end up in a cave-in. And so they have that. So yeah, I was like, oh, okay, she's gonna like that.
Yeah, I'm in. Sign me up.
All righty. We are going to move into the fun and games portion. After that, we will do our writing sprint, and it is author's choice. But Britta left the game up to me, so I thought it'd be fun to play Fantasy Romance Pictionary. Ooh, this is going to be hard, I'm sure.
There we go.
Let me pull the... Yes. So we're going to use pen or pencil or whatever it is to play this Pictionary game with fantasy romance themes or ideas or objects. And everyone in the chat, we'd love for you to play along and guessing what we're drawing. I have to get the timer set up here too, because we're going to have 2 minutes to draw our...
I'm a terrible artist, so this is exciting.
I've got mine too. Okay. We'll let you go first. But let me pull up the timer here. And let me just check over, make sure I have set everything. So yeah, we have picked kind of our words or phrases ahead of time, or sort of, I mean, I don't know which ones that you're going to do, and I don't know if it'll overlap with mine. So I've chosen a few different ones. We'll take turns drawing. We'll have 2 minutes of time to draw. And I don't know how that's going to translate to the screen, because I think usually when you draw, you're like doing it in front of people. So that's going to make it even harder for trying to draw with it on the screen.
I pulled out my plotting whiteboard for this.
Oh, there you go.
We'll do our best.
Yeah.
Move all my coffee out of the way so I don't spill it.
And then, of course, I will try to guess. Oh, what is it doing? I don't know what my phone was just doing. It was supposed to be 2 minutes, and it put 3 minutes, and then it started playing music. Okay. Let's see. All right. So yeah, we will have 2 minutes to draw. We're definitely want the audience to participate, and some of the, I'm trying to find where I put the rules at here, right? No numbers, no letters. We can't speak while we're drawing. So I think that's the 3 main things.
Okay.
And of course, after the time is up, or if the word's guessed, and the drawer reveals the word or phrase. So I'm going to go back and forth between watching you and the chat. Since I have no chat on the back end here, I can't watch you and look at the chat on the back end here at the same time. This is kind of going to be awkward, but all right. Are you ready?
So I draw first, right?
You draw first. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And go. A potion.
Is it even in there?
A ghost. A death potion. Kill potion. Oh, which is cauldron.
There we go.
That's what it is? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Note to self, angle more.
All right. Let me reset this for 2 minutes. And right, I was going to do, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I can't get the, there you go. It's not coming off. All right. You guys can see that okay? All right, here we go. There, but I'm just,
Fairy wings? Is it a fairy?
yes!
Yeah.
It's fairy wing.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I don't even know what the chat today. Poison. Kiko had said poison. Cauldron for Elizabeth, so she said I got that right.
Nice.
Whitney said witch's brew, so she that's probably right too. Probably. Yeah. Very close. All right. Okay. Let me reset the time.
I'm going to challenge myself with this one.
We're actually doing this pretty quickly and figuring it out pretty quickly. So.
All right.
All right. Ready?
Okay. Maybe.
And go.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of a mermaid? No? A horse, a centaur.
Ding. He's so proud of himself.
Yes, he is. I thought we would need 2 minutes, but we've been doing this pretty quick.
Right.
Let me go look. I need to figure out, because a centaur was my next one I was going to do.
Oh, no.
No, it's okay. Okay, I'm going to try a bit harder one, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to draw this on screen. Man, I wish the comments would show up back here, but they're not showing up, and I don't know if anyone's saying anything. Let me check over on YouTube and see. I'm having a low productivity day, so I'm loving the fun and games. And that's from Courtney. Hello, Courtney.
Yay.
My comments are not working on the back end of StreamYard, so I can't put any comments up, and I can't see them without going over to YouTube. So I just want to let you guys know. All right. That reset. All right, here we go.
As a mermaid for sure. Got that far. Mermaid mouth. A beauty mark? Mermaid. Is it a kiss? Is it a mermaid kiss? Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
Got it. Awesome.
Cute.
Let's see what the chat, if they came up with anything. Shannon trying to do a pop-out chat window from YouTube. Yeah, but with everything I'm clicking, that I should do that. I didn't think about that. It's been a minute since I've had to worry about doing something like that. But she's right. We can layer over the pop-out chat over the back end of StreamYard so I can see the comments better. And I'll have to keep going back and forth. Elizabeth said mermaid's kiss. You got it.
Nice.
Siren's kiss from Kiko. Mermaid lips. Mermaid lips.
Way faster than I did.
And hello, Alexa. I don't know if this is someone who's new to me, so I don't know if this might be one of your followers. It's, the name is Alexis Dedick.
Yeah, she is lovely. She writes grim horror. She has an anthology out, things magical under the moon, and is working on. I'm gonna pitch her here. She's working on a labyrinth retelling that I can't wait to read. So Alexis,
horror, but like horror twist to it.
Yep. So grim retellings with horror.
With horror. Okay. Yeah. I don't really like to read horror because I have a very active imagination and I dream it. So
Same.
I read a
really
serial.
good, but when I read House of Leaves, I rearranged my bedroom to see all like doors and windows and
Yes.
walls. So I have to read horror books during the daylight and then follow it with something like cozy. So I can sleep.
I read a horror story by a friend, and it was in the perspective of two serial killers. And that night, I dreamed that I was a middle-aged man serial killer, and I was having the time of my life. And I woke up and thought that should have been a nightmare, not a dream.
Right. This is great.
I know. And I was like, nope, I can't do this.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, everyone's saying welcome and hello to Alexis and Nia. Nia says this is fun. And Alexis says, don't pitch me, Britta. I'm here for you and your books. Such amazing books. House of Leaves.
Each other up.
Yes, yes. And if you see, there's those who are in my chat, you see a lot of blue, and that means that they have the ability to leave links, because I think it's so much easier to promote other people than ourselves. So I love people to promote other things and other people that are they're doing great things. And Angela Spear says House of Leaves is a great book. So I've not heard of it, but I don't know that I would if I don't really follow horror.
Just read it in a corner with all the lights on.
There you go.
It's my only advice for that book.
And then Joanne saying hello to Alexis. Nice to meet you. What genres do you read or write? And I think she's a horror writer. So, all right, it's my turn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or is it?
Wait, I just did the Mermaid's Kiss. It's your turn.
Oh, all right.
See, I switched buttons. I switched screens, and I have to pull the chat up again. Okay, here we go. All right, starting timer over and go. Okay, looks like trees, a forest, woods, no forest, bad forest, evil forest, negative forest, no trees. Killing the trees, hiding the trees. Stop. Don't go into the forest. Oh gosh, Forbidden Forest, Kiko says.
Yes.
Kiko got it. Do not enter the forest for Elizabeth. That's what I thought too. Do not enter the forest.
I like that. Bad trees.
Okay. All right, I gotta choose another one here. Oh, okay. I think I got one. I chose a few, but some of them I was like, I don't know if I want to do this one or that one. And then as we're drawing, I'm like, I don't think I could do that one now.
Yeah, I looked at some, like, that'd be fun. I was like, I am not the artist for this.
Yeah. Okay. Alexa says, I read across the fantasy genre, PNR, romantasy, epic, horror adjacent. I write mostly fantasy horror adjacent. And those were some good trees, though. They were good trees. They were easy to understand.
We got that far. I'll take. I can draw trees. If you need trees done, I'm your girl. Happy little trees all over the place.
Oh, I gotta reset the timer. Okay. And, okay, I'm trying to remember.
Genie lamp.
Yes. Oh, I got to get that.
My kids
watched
watched
the genie
last night. No, we like literally just watched Aladdin. So like it's in my head that my son had a tea kettle this morning. He goes, Mommy, it's a genie lamp. It's like, all right, yeah, sure. I could take 3 wishes, rub that kettle.
Yep. Oh, Kiko said dinosaur. My first thought was bull from Elizabeth. Oh, that's a lamp, Kiko says. Yes, it's a lamp. Alrighty. You want to do one more each?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
And start. Witch's hat.
Yep. Keep it on brand.
There you go. That was like 9 seconds worth of drawing.
That's awesome.
You got that. Kiko says mine was first bull too, then dinosaur a bit before I saw what I thought head. So, All right. And then I'll pick one more. We should pick one maybe that's on brand with me. Okay, I'm going to choose something that is slightly different than what because we did have like a whole list of things that we could pull from. But I think I'm going to do something slightly different, just a twist.
Okay.
If I can do it.
I believe in you.
Let's make it look like a dinosaur. Dinosaur lamp.
When in doubt, brontosaurus.
There you go. Yeah. All right. And starting. Okay. Nope. I don't know if I'm holding it up there, right?
Yeah.
Don't look at that.
I mean, when in doubt, dinosaur, obviously. Oh, is that a Kelpie? No. Oh man.
Yeah, dragon, T-Rex. We're almost there with one of those.
Wyvern? Dragon T-Rex. Dragon wing?
Yes.
Yay.
Oh, under a minute on that one. That's
whoever said dragon, thank you.
Yeah, that was Nikki. She actually said dragon. Kiko says muscles.
Like it.
Oh, T-Rex, yeah, dragon. Anne just says Book of Leaves is, and I don't think I've heard this word before, so I don't know if I'm saying it right. Ergodic, ERGODIC type of read. EROGDIC. Unless maybe that's it might be a typo. It isn't straight through cover to cover kind of books. I hope to write like that someday, but I'm still not up to that level.
There's some insane formatting in that book. Like some of the pages are completely black. Some pages the text starts to twist, so it really messes with your perception. There's the whale letters. I think a chunk of the book are letters that a character writes and receives, but there's random capitalizations in the letters that are a cipher. You're supposed to. I never went that far. I have a friend who figured out the letters. I was like, it's an amazing feat of art is House of Leaves. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that would have been something to do in a book. I mean, I guess I could see if it was like a mystery or something. I would drop like little things like that in there. But yeah, that's interesting. I love that. Yeah. We had a few more people come in. Guys, if you have any questions for the authors, please ask. You can leave it in the chat with the queue. For those who've just joined, just note that for some reason, I cannot access comments in the back end of StreamYard. They're not even showing up for me to do anything. I can't click on anything because they're not there. So I am looking at the comments in the chat. And so I do want to say hello to Heather for coming in. How are you? I hope all is well. And then there was another guess. I knew it was an animal. Well, at first it looked like an arm that's showing off its muscles. Yes, I'm not that great of a drawer. And then Joanne talking about what type of writing she has. And Alexa says, I followed you on Insta to Joanne. Elizabeth says that I see it. Okay. And Joanne says, it's honestly frustrating trying to finish the last remaining chapter 6 in the book to development to editor. Okay. Is House of Leaves similar to Night Circus from Alexis?
In terms of, I would say how the story is structured, it's non-linear, and Night Circus kind of jumps around in time and place a bit. Yes, but that's about as far as I would say the similarities go.
Okay. Elizabeth says, this game is fun. I want to continue this game.
It is fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And I was a bit, because you left it up to me. And so I was looking over the month what people chose. And there's a few who left it up to me. But I was like, okay, those who leave it up to me, I want to choose games like that, like nobody's choosing them.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let's do this one. I think it'd be fun. And then after I was about to send you the email, I was like, should I choose this one? What if that really puts her on the spot to draw on air?
No, I mean, I draw about as well as Elsa in Frozen 2. So it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Um, and Kiko says you draw better than I do. I once only draw a respectable dragon, and that was from the wings open, from above the wings. Alexis says, okay, good to know. Night Circus broke my brain in the best way.
Yeah.
Kiko says this game and the Would You Rather. The Would You Rather game was lots of fun, and I think that is like the next 3 authors chose that game.
Oh,
so
nice.
yeah, and it was fun. We've done one of those already, and I have to come up with more because so many authors did choose. I have to come up with a whole lot more because I think I only came up with like 30, and we went through 15 of them on the first one.
Oh
but I did love those too. I love that game. Have still to look. What was yesterday's game? Yesterday's game was what was yesterday's game? Hold on, I can look at my banners here. Two Truths and a Lie. So the author brought, a few things about herself, and I brought things about myself, and it was more about our writing and what we like to write about. And that was really interesting because we had a little bit of time to get to know each other, talk on screen, but then we had to try and figure out which one was a lie based off of the information we knew from just meeting each other. So it was fun.
Yeah, that's tricky.
She was really good at guessing mine. I think she got almost all of mine right. I got only one of hers right.
Oh no. I would have been like, everything sounds great.
Yeah, Kiko says she had said like 33. Yeah, I couldn't remember the exact number. I knew it was around 30 or so. And we went through around 15 of them.
Wow.
So I have 3 more authors. Next 3 days, I have 3 authors doing Would You Rather. So I have to come up with like 45 more Would You Rather statements. So
I'm glad we did Pictionary to give you a break then.
Yes. When he says, "Don't worry, Britta's artist is here in judging." Ooh.
Yeah, she is. I don't have it quick to grab. That is my sister Whitney, and she did the cover work for the anthology One Monstrous Summer. Alexis Carroll also has a short in there, and that is seamy end of summer vibes. So it's 9 indie authors, 9 short stories. All of them are spicy. That's monstrous. So it's all monsters. But Whitney did the artwork for us and did a couple illustrations for the interior. And then she is doing the cover work and a couple interior designs for a monster romance I'm releasing in June.
Do you have does she have a Instagram, or do you show any of that on your Instagram, any of that artwork?
I do. It is on my Instagram at Britta Writes Things, or on my small press, Good Intent Press, at Good Intent Press. Her art's there. Okay. Whitney's is at Techie Lampshade is her Instagram. And so you'll see some of her art. Whitney, I apologize. I don't know your website off the top of my head, but she has a ton of amazing art on there. If she could pop it in the comments, because I think it's just her name, but
yeah, she wouldn't be able to drop a link. Like, she could put the link in the comments, but it won't show up to anybody because she's not. And someone leave a comment. There you go. I was trying to make her a moderator so she can drop a link, but the little heart thing was in the way and I couldn't drop it. But someone just left a comment, so I was able to. Okay. Give it just a second. So Whitney, you'll see it pop up with you as a standard moderator for the channel, which means you can drop a link. So yeah, promote away, because I'm always looking for new artists to do different things. I've already hired a few, done a few things, but I still haven't found that one where I'm like, oh, my go-to for everything,
Right. And I've worked with a couple for Ritual Income and Shady Depths, and now Stitching Palms. And I like their style, but her art, I love it. One, biased, she's my sister, but it has just this like whimsical heartwarmingness to it. I'm sure there is an actual art term for how she draws, but I have loved it forever. So when we were looking for someone to do the cover art for One Monstrous Summer, I asked my contributors, I said, hey, can we ask my sister? Here's her website. And they were just hands down. It caught that it's sweet and spicy is how we describe the anthology. Everything's lighthearted. There are a couple of the stories have a little bit of like adventure suspense plot. So it gets a little dark, but it's about like, you have 10,000 words to get 2 people together, a person and a monster together, and it's a happily ever after. And so I know one author has already spun hers off into continuing the story in the world. My monster romance coming out in June takes place 10 years later with a different set of characters, but it gave all of us a little kind of kickstart out of our current worlds that we were writing to get all the creativeness kind of going, like, oh, well, what do we think about what happens, the implications of these 10 to 20 pages that we wrote, what's next? And it was really fun, but all of it has just a very cozy, lighthearted vibe at the end of the
Nice.
day. And my
Yeah.
sister's art catches that really well.
I would love to get the name of the anthology from you later because of my partial tone deafness. I don't know what you're saying when you say the name of it, but
Okay.
but I'll get with you later to get the actual
Yeah,
name.
absolutely.
So yeah, we have Angela said, not sure to Alexis about, what did she say? What was it to? Oh, that about Night Circus. I haven't got to read Night Circus, though I'd like to. It's a tale that has the reader interact with the book in an unusual way.
Yep.
So she put the word again, ERGODIC. So I don't think it's a typo, but I don't know what that is. I've never seen that word, and I don't know what it means. So yeah. And Angela's like, ooh, monster romance tale. I love Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. Entreat Me by Grace Draven.
There you go. Alrighty, well, we are going to move into the writing sprint, and this was something else that Britta left the type of writing sprint up to me, and so I thought it'd be fun to have a random fantasy prompt. And the best way I came up with this is that I just have a bunch of romance fantasy prompts that I came up with. That 2 of them are gone already, but I thought maybe if you want to choose a number, it's 1 through 28, but not 17 or 12.
27.
27. All right. Oh, I like this one. Although it's very similar to the other random one that we had a few days ago. Okay, I'm going to pop this in. All right, a graffiti artist discovers that their street art has the power to bring their fantasies to life. Then their drawings manifest a mysterious and alluring magical being. I like this. That you could actually probably do something like that in your world.
Yeah, and there's what is it called? Jinxed by Rachel Renner is a tattoo artist, and the ink brings things to life. So
Oh,
I have to not step on what Rachel has done, but if anyone likes this prompt and wants to read it about tattoos, Jinxed by Rachel Renner.
okay. And for those who are joining us for the writing sprint, you don't have to use this writing prompt. You can use the 30 minutes, however, which way it works for you, whether you're reading, writing, or taking care of you, chores, you got a day job, whatever it is you want to do. But it's there to maybe give some inspiration and creativity. So, all right. Are you ready to start?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go in 3, 2, 1, and go. And that is time. How did you do? Oh, sorry. Wait, you're muted. There you go. You're not muted now.
There we go. No, that was a fun prompt. That was good.
Yay. I had to be a little more inventive with it because mine's in an epic fantasy setting. But I was like, even in Pompeii, there was graffiti on the walls.
Yeah.
So I kind of worked off that idea.
Nice. And it was filthy graffiti and like ads, right?
I love that. All right, let's see if anybody's in the chat has any questions you'd like to ask. This is the time to do it. We're going to be wrapping up here soon. Angela did ask, was that Intrigue Me? And she was having trouble finding it. I think that's the anthology we're talking about.
Intrigue Me is the Grace Draven Beauty and the Beast retelling.
Okay, never mind. That's probably not what I was thinking. But yeah, that's what she was asking.
Okay, yep. ENTREAT, entreat. I'm a little congested, so I know sometimes my words don't come out right.
Yeah. Well, and I'm partially tone deaf, so I don't know what you were saying. Anyways, so I said I would ask her again. Elizabeth says I drew a hawk on a tree branch.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's almost like, like when someone puts their initials in the tree, it usually stays there for a long time, or the whole time.
I like that.
Rachel, hello, Rachel. Dropped only so fast I can get in from the barn. Yeah, no, I understand. Rachel was actually the first author that we had on for the Charm Chats.
Cool.
So it was nice to kind of break the ice there. I want to get better at drawing, says Elizabeth. Hope everyone's having a lovely day from Rachel. And Rachel, just FYI, StreamYard is showing me no comments on the back end, so I'm just reading straight from YouTube here. And Angel said it's been pretty good. Joanne says, Rachel. Okay, people saying hello, hello. Kiko says, I looked at fantasy writing prompts, still copying some of the page. There are total 340. Yeah, there's quite a few online. That's for sure. Rachel says, one congested, one tone deaf. Let the chaos commence.
We'll just talk at each other. It'll be great.
Like, you're talking. Yeah, you're talking. I'll keep nodding.
I fell off a bunk bed when I was a little kid, and it like partially punctured my eardrum. And so if I'm in a bar or at a concert or something and you're standing on my left side, I just kind of nod.
Yeah, like I'm not hearing anything you're saying. It's gotten pretty interesting because my husband's hearing has been going for years. I mean, he was military, long. I was in the military too, so we met, but he was in until he retired. So his hearing's been going for a while. So there's been a while he's like, I don't know what you're saying. I can't hear you. And he says, literally, the ear doctor said that he can't hear in the ranges of women's voices.
Oh my gosh. He's the only man with that excuse. He's it.
Yep. So, and now that I'm having a hard time because my tone deafness is getting worse over the years, now we just like to make it, we'll say something to each other, says, did you say this? And we just have fun with it because we don't know what the other person's really saying.
Oh my gosh. And it's like in our house, the kids will be going, I'll be washing dishes, the dog is barking, and then my husband says something to me and he has a very deep voice and it hits that register. And I'm like, I can see your mouth moving. Can you please speak up or wait for another sound to end? Because I have no idea.
Well, that's where you just start making up stuff. That's what we start doing. We just start making up what the other person is saying to get a laugh at the other person.
I'm gonna borrow that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So, and Rachel says, "LOL, fine." I didn't even notice, so she didn't notice it. All right, let me find the script because that always keeps me on track. So before we wrap up the chat, can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on next, when it might come out? And you've kind of already talked about it a little bit, but here's a chance to plug it again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The next book in the Witches of Crow, which are standalone fantasy romances in an urban setting within the broader witchy universe that I have, is Stitching Palms. It releases on March 11th. I'm going to plug this here. I'm still opening. The ARC applications are still open. So if you are interested in a urban fantasy romance with a happily ever after about a witch hunting cursed items in Key West, I'm very interested in you joining my ARC team. So if you go to my website and join the newsletter, if you follow me on Instagram at Britta Writes Things, throw a comment here. I don't know if I put in my link tree in the links, but the top link in there is the ARC application. I can't remember if I put that in there.
You didn't, but if you want to give it to me afterward, I can make sure I get it added.
Okay, absolutely. But yep, those will be open through the end of the week, and I'm sending out ARCs for Stitching Palms on the 11th of February. It releases March 11th. And then after that, I'm working on a short to submit to a horror anthology and hopefully get that accepted. And then starting revisions on the second book in Witch of the Domain, which will follow immediately after Ritual Income.
All right. So I did, we got 3 links. We got the website, Instagram, and TikTok. I threw all those into the chat, but they are also down below for everybody wanting to find those. And then we'll get the link tree and get that added to the description box for anybody who wants to catch. I think I see like a hair sticking up.
Yeah, thank you. And the link tree is my link in Instagram too, so they can also find it that way. So
find it that way. Yep. Awesome. Let me make sure there's any other last minute questions. Anybody have any questions? My mom has been hard of hearing since she was a kid. This is from Elizabeth. And she's tone deaf as well. Sometimes I have to repeat myself several times to her. I have hypersensitive hearing, so things get fun with us. Pictionary might help. No, I'm just kidding. I think we've talked about doing that, my husband and I. So, well, before we end the show, please tell everyone where they can find you and purchase your books. I know you kind of already talked about that, but do you do anything else? Like, do you have like Patreon or Ko-fi or anything like that?
I haven't set those up yet. I'm starting to think about how I want that structure to work.
Yeah.
And what I would like, what I want to do, what I have the time and mental ability to put out for subscribers. But I can be found on Instagram at Britta Writes Things. I'm on TikTok at Britta Writes Things. That's going to be just a lot of stupid jokes about my books. And then my 2 other things are I talk to readers about books that I'm reading and suggestions and stuff. And then I also talk about writing craft and things that I've learned through creative writing, through going through the self-publishing process, all of that fun stuff. I'm also on Twitter, which the new name X, as Britta Brown, Brau. I'm on Linktree, but I think I'm the heaviest user on Instagram and TikTok, and I love engaging with people on those social media platforms. So if you have a stupid reading fantasy romance meme, I'm gonna laugh at it. So send it to me.
All right, I love that.
I love them.
I haven't really got on TikTok too much. I have a couple of videos up there I put up there when I was doing my Kickstarter for my book, but I haven't been on back there since. But I am on Instagram a lot. What is up with this piece of hair that's like sticking up? I keep seeing it.
Oh,
sorry.
no.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and giving me a chance to get to know you and your work.
Yeah, thank you. This was awesome.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us in the chat. I'll look at chat one last time, see if there's any questions. Elizabeth said, actually, her mom's great at Pictionary. So,
nice.
So, yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for the stream and fun. Yes, thank you, everyone, for coming. And next on Charm Chats, tomorrow, I'll have CK Sorens. And that is at a little bit later in the morning, 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern for those in different time zones. Don't ask me to do the other ones because I'm really bad at converting time zones. But that will do it. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.